I've already shared a few entries from this 1917 diary, but in honor of the new year, I'm going to start over from the beginning. Here's what New Year's Day was like for Angie in 1917. Mary and I came home from the Bartons at about 2. The party was quite fun, but there were very few young people there. Dick Stevenson gave me quite a rush, and I sat out with him for about an hour. He's not very exciting. Lincoln and Bucky went home early. Tilden, Billy, Ned, Onks, Lou, and Walcott were about the only other people I danced with. Hungary and Carly were hiding in a passageway because they had no dress suits. Mrs. Fuller told me when I got home that I ought to treat Link better. Anne and I got up at about 12. She, Bucky, and Link went skating, and I went riding with Billy until lunch. After lunch, we packed and sat around. Mary went with Carly and Hungary on the 350 and all the rest on the 429. We were some mob on the train. Talked until dinner. After dinner, I called on Nan and came home later. Link told me about the spat and fixed it up before he and Bucky left for their apartment. Anne and I talked until 1:30. Tonight was Elsie's dance, but we didn't go. On this day in 1917. School again, and how I hated to go back. Lolly didn't wake me up until late, so I arrived at school at nearly 10 o'clock. Marjorie wasn't there. I went home with Joe for lunch and arrived here at about 3. Hunt Dickinson came here soon after I arrived and stayed until about 5. He was awfully nice, and it was great to see him again. I think I have him still after all, in spite of my worries. The candy nearly proved that. Link and Walcott were waiting for me when I got upstairs. Link helped me with history until dinner. After dinner, Marjorie arrived to spend the night. I finished my lessons and then went downstairs with Link. After the kids went to bed, Link got terribly worked up and was sad when I wouldn't let him do more than... I was quite glad when Bucky came down and said it was time to go, though I shall miss Link. Link and Bucky left at 11:30. Marge, Jim, and I had a feast after I came up to bed. We finally went to sleep at about 1. Stay tuned for another entry later this week where Link actually apologizes for getting a little too touchy-feely. Not too long ago, I shared an entry from January 3rd in Angie's 1917 diary, so today I have a little rerun for you. In this entry, we have special guest appearances from Doris Kenyon, who is a famous actress from the time, and Angie's Aunt Kate. School, and I had a miserable time on account of my awful cold. Joe came home with me for lunch. Right after, we went to the Triangle. I was meant to meet Ruth Wilson and Lou there, but they didn't turn up. We sat with Doris Kenyon, and she brought us home afterward in her car. The pictures were quite good, but I nearly fell asleep. I don't really care at all for movies. After I got home, I wrote a note to Mrs. Hazard thanking her for our visit, and then I went to 77 for dinner. After dinner, Nana, Anne, and I walked to the Bossert to see Aunt Kate. She has been sick for quite a while. I looked at her presents and cards, and we went home about 9:30, and I calmly went to bed without doing a lesson. Lolly came back to sleep with me on account of Roger's sore throat. The doctor thought he might have diphtheria. Roger and Lolly are the writer of the diary's brother and sister. And her Aunt Kate, pictured here, lived at the Bossert Hotel. I also stumbled upon these theater pictures of Doris Kenyon while I was searching for possible pictures of Angie. In today's entry from Angie's 1917 diary, I'm actually going to need your help to decipher a little bit of what's written. For Angie, Thursday, January 4th was a bit more of an uneventful day compared to some of the others, but I still find it really interesting to hear what her day-to-day activities were. Today, I had lunch at home and spent all the afternoon here. I cut out theater pictures, polished my shoes, studied early, and fixed the room a bit. Walcott came over for dinner. I had to study most of the evening, but at 9:30 went downstairs with him for a while. He is an awfully nice kid, boy, and very amusing at times. I think it's cute that she added boy above kid like she was correcting herself. Walcott is Bucky's little brother, and he's about 1 year older than Angie is. Here's the part where I'm stuck and I can't quite read a couple of the words. She continues by saying, I didn't get to bed until 11:30. Anne said she had a slam for me from Wee Pet, but wouldn't tell me what it was. Slam is just my best guess for this word, but I really have no idea what that would mean. And then here, again, wee pet is just the best guess I have. You can see that wee pet is in quotations. That's how she makes her quotation marks. So it may have been a show or a book. I don't know. And then slam, I don't really know what slam would mean. There are lots of terms that she uses that were definitely just older terms that we don't use today, so it could be something like that. Or I could just be missing something. I know lots of you are going to say that that looks like a W, but knowing Angie's handwriting, I think it's definitely an M or an N. She tends to write those upside down. These letters could really be A-M, A-I-N, A-N-N. So tell me what you think. Then here, this E looks a little funny, but she actually does write her lowercase e's like that at certain times. I'll pause on the words here if you want a screenshot. And I'd love to hear your opinions of what you think it might say. I'm going through Angie's 1917 diary in order now, so today I have another rerun for you. On this day, Angie's too sick to go to school, but not too sick to go to the theater, and she receives an apology letter from Lincoln. I had a cold, so Mother said not to go to school in the pouring rain. I cut out theater pictures all morning and after lunch as the rain had stopped. I met Ruth Wilson at Packer, and we went to the Cumberland to see Geraldine Farrar in Maria Rosa. I got home at about dinner time and fixed theater pictures until bed, which was pretty late. I got a letter from Lincoln thanking me for his visit and apologizing for his outburst on Tuesday night. I nearly died, and after bed, Lolly and I discussed the matter carefully, not omitting to sneak into Anne's room and copy a letter he sent her, saying he hoped he hadn't been an awful bother, and that he intended to try different methods in the future, etc. If you've been following along on my page, I've actually been going through the entries day by day, and here Lincoln is actually apologizing for getting a little too handsy a few days earlier. Today's entry, January 6th, is actually another rerun. This one gives us a glimpse of what teenage fun looked like in 1917. Saturday, January 6th. I got up at about 12 and at 1 had lunch at Josephine's. Lolly met us there at 2 and we went to New York, intending to go a la carte to the theater. We tried a few theaters and movies but couldn't get in, so we finally saw Annette Kellerman in The Daughter of the Gods. It was a very elaborate fairy tale movie. After the theater, we went to Mirrors and then home. Joe came back with us for dinner. Walcott was here also. After dinner, Joe, Willits, Walcott, Lolly, and Carr danced to the Victor, and I pasted pictures in my theater book. During the evening, Joe succeeded in sitting through one of the chairs, much to her embarrassment and our joy. She looked so funny, and the boys were laughing so hard they couldn't help her out for a while, and she couldn't possibly get out by herself, so there she sat. Carmen walked home with her at about 10, and at about 10:30, Walcott left for good. Tomorrow he has to stay with his family, and Monday he goes back to school. Lolly and I got to bed at about 11. Here's another entry from Angie's 1917 diary from Sunday, January 7th. I went to church and stayed for communion. After church, went back to Remsen and stayed there for dinner. Aileen and cunning little cousin Gertrude Jarvis were the only outsiders there. After dinner, I went for a short walk with Aileen and then came home and studied until supper. After supper, I wrote to Billy Warren to thank him for the candy he sent me at Christmas, and also a letter to Lincoln. Bed 9:30, which is extremely early for me.